history of GMOs actually begins around 1935 when DNA was first discovered and DNA was isolated in its purest form. In 1973, recombinant DNA was created, and then in 1975, the Asilomar Conference took place, and here guidelines were created for the safe use of genetically engineered DNA. By 1980, the first GMO patent was issued, and the FDA approved the first GMO in 1982, which was humulin, an insulin produced by genetically engineered E. coli bacteria. In 1984, GMOs first hit the grocery stores in the U.S., where our FDA approved the Flavor Saver tomato. In 1987, mandatory labels were required on all GMO food products by the EU. And in 1999, GMOs began to dominate the food crops.
GMOs are genetically modified organisms whose DNA have been altered through genetic engineering in a laboratory setting. Genetic engineering includes methods such as gene splicing, gene modification, and transgenic technology. The result of these GMOs are unstable combinations of plant, animal, bacteria, and virus genes that are not found in nature and cannot be created through traditional methods of crossbreeding. There are three categories that the non-GMO project uses to classify different foods: high risk, low risk, and non-risk. The following definitions are from the non-GMO project. A high-risk food is derived from, contains derivatives of, or is produced through a process involving organisms that are known to be genetically modified and commercially available. A low-risk food is not derived from, does not contain derivatives of, or is not produced through a process involving organisms that are presently known to be genetically modified and commercially available. A non-risk food is not derived from biological organisms and not, therefore, susceptible to genetic modification. GMOs are used for various purposes, including producing insecticides, artificially developing unnatural traits in plants, such as a resistance to browning in apples, and creating new organisms through synthetic biology.
Genetically modified organisms, otherwise known as GMOs, is a serious issue that is currently being discussed among a wide variety of people, ranging from those who study the topic in depth to those who just take an interest. The reason being is that people aren't completely sure of how safe and natural GMOs are to individuals, such as whether it causes cancer or has other serious long-term effects, as well as the impacts on the environment such as runoff and pollution, or the creation of superweeds, which are weeds that have built up a resistance to the Monsanto herbicide and have to be killed using a harsh chemical. The financial concerns also make this topic be of interest, since the hidden cost of crops will reduce how financially beneficial they are in the long run. However, GMO crops do have some benefits, such as making food more nutrient-rich in places where certain nutrients aren't available, which can help have a positive impact on people's health. For all these reasons, people have to decide whether their costs outweigh the benefits, which is why they are such interest among everyone.
Now for the controversies. Although there's not enough solid evidence to provide the risks of ingesting GMOs, many health problems, environmental damage, and a violation of farmers' rights have been discovered. Over 60 countries require GMOs to be labeled, and there are over 300 regions that have banned growing GMOs due to the posed risks. The crops with GMOs are treated with Roundup, the brand name for the herbicide glyphosate produced by Monsanto, and is said to maybe cause cancer by the World Health Organization, which is not risk not only for animals but for the environment as well. The negative effects for farmers are that if pollen or drift from fields with patented GMOs end up in another farmer's field, the companies can sue the farmers. These genetically modified crops could pose threats to the normal lives of farmers just trying to make a living, and also question the safety and security of the food and the countries that they are grown in. All in all, there are many controversies that come with GMOs on how they should be used and the effects they have on everyone.
In 2017, genetically modified crops are grown in 28 countries around the world across 450 million acres of farmland. The United States is leading the world in production of genetically modified crops, but there is still strong opposition to any use of GM crops. For example, the majority of the European Union banned any new GMOs in 2015. However, Europe is actually the largest consumer of GMOs in the world, importing 30 million tons of genetically modified grain per year. In July of 2016, President Obama signed a new GMO labeling law, requiring products produced by GM crops to be labeled. The labeling itself can differ amongst products. Producers have the option to write words on a product's label, use a symbol, provide a 1-800 number, or scannable QR code to provide more information. This compromise law will probably not be the last one, as certain groups are still unhappy with the legislation.